I freaking love One Piece. Don't listen to Heath. We love this song. We're all crying right now. This is my favorite moment of One Piece. I cried when I read it. I've already gotten up to Thriller Bark. It's pretty impressive. You know, not everybody can be like me. And I'm going to pretend I'm not like me and say that I haven't read a single more chapter than the fucking video I covered. But that's just me faking and stuff. Oh my god, I watched a Pokemon episode today. And one yesterday. This is the one I watched today. They had 2 water episodes in a row, but they weren't the same body of water, which was a little odd. Usually they would put like a forest episode in between. But, you know, we had this one, which was Apom and about hot springs, and there was a Snorlax. That was pretty funny. We liked that one. Actually, 2 pretty good episodes in a row, you know. Hook, Line, and Stinker. Now, that's a pretty funny title. But, you know, this one was okay. We were catching Sea King and then measuring them. I do have vague memories of this one, which is weird, because I have very spotty memories of these Johto episodes that I might have had on in the background one time when I was on my laptop when I was like 13 years old. Now, why is Heath calling me unemployed? I didn't do nothing. You know what I was checking just before? I was checking Elite and Heath's media checklist. I guess City the animation only just finished because it was only just on Heath's thing. Also, he had my Leonardo DiCaprio movie that I want to go see. Also, he has this thingy. Now, are they only? Isn't it till 24? So did this Amazon show only cover like the first? But I swear I saw 8 episodes. Or is this represent? No, it can't be representative of the manga because then the year would be wrong. So did Heath just misdo this? Shouldn't it be till 24? What's going on here, Heath? You lying to me? Fujimoto 17 to 24, right? To 26, first of all. See? You don't get to count them as 2 separate things. How the fuck did they get 19 minutes out of this chicken story? It's going to be crazy on God. I wonder if it has an OP. Now that would be pretty funny. If it was all this individual characters hanging out or something and Denji was there. And oh my god, Agni, what do you call it? Cameo? That'd be crazy. I did reread this one in my physical version, but I'm yet to read the rest of them. I was maybe going to do that today, but I tried to work on my video a little bit. I wrote the title wrong, shake my head. That reminds me, my platinum thread, that's a platinum threat at the moment, I gotta redo that, but I'm forgetting. I think I mixed it up because I own the yes. Well, I own both volumes now, so, you know, I'm pretty cool and way cooler than this. But we had all this stuff for Heath. I do want to go and see this movie. I think I've missed the opportunity to see it in the theater, though I should check. God, after I quit my job, there's going to be at least a few months, or maybe 1 or 2, where I am just here before I move anywhere. And oh my god, it felt like the olden days today. I was like so depressed. I was just lying in my bed. I was like, I'll do like 30 minutes of scripting and then go and lie in my bed and be like, I don't feel like I've accomplished anything today. It's like miserable. It's like we got to avoid this. So we got to go out more. And how we go out more now is we go and see movies, like this movie. But I've also never seen a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I thought about nearly trying to watch There Will Be Blood over the weekend. This is my weekend. This is my Sunday right now. There's a few movies I have in mind. Also, I see Angel's Egg is in some theaters. I will see it if it is close to me. I don't think it is, though. And I don't know how to check without doxing myself on stream, so we'll check that later. But I would probably also watch Angel's Egg first, because I did torrent it, alright? So I may as well do it. Oh my god, 2 Angel's Egg watching. Alita already got to put Shitty Chainsaw Man on here twice, so I get to do that. I doubt Angel's Egg is near me, though. So there's Angel's Egg, there's There Will Be Blood. I want to watch 2001. And there's like one other one that I've nearly checked a bunch of times. But, you know, I'll watch one of these movies eventually. I did the math on all the things I have, like, outstanding. It is the right one. First of all, I was playing a lot of Crash 4 before I streamed, like an hour or so. And it's already telling me I'm like 33% of the way done, which is kind of crazy. I'm on like World 3, which I guess would mean there's like 9 worlds, which kind of sounds like a lot now that I'm thinking about it, but maybe. Very weird game. Still don't know how I feel about it. Still feels like I barely even started playing it. It's annoyingly difficult in some places. Whatever. But basically, I added up all of these grays. And it brings me to 101, I think. I didn't add this or this. It was like, I think I'm on, well, I could just check what I'm on. But basically, I wouldn't need a bunch of movies to get the score up. But I still think I want to watch some movies. I haven't watched movies in a long time. But look at all this shit. City, the animation. Well, I guess that was ages ago. Wait, that's not that long ago. In my head, it's December. It's not yet. Oh, but we had to watch that show eventually, you know. And Lotus War and all those things. But anyway. Only visible to me, you reached a 7-day stream watch streak. Oh my goodness, that's big. I'm famous in my own chat. Now, Shitty Elite RE is also on here. What's Jockey Bacon doing? Where's the Mia one? We're going to check everybody's in the beginning of the stream. I can't tell if this is Momo fan art or some other fucking girl. But Shitty Elite RE said he was going to stream ages away, so he sucks. We don't like that guy. Also, Elite RE pretending he played Grounded. Grounded 2 came out this year. I know that. And he finished Jujutsu Kaisen already. I looked it up. Jujutsu Kaisen has 275. Yes, I believe that's what I read. Chapters. That's crazy. When's Elite RE Shitty Digest coming out? I can't wait to hear about Hollow Knight. And, you know, he hasn't started Silk Song yet, so maybe he didn't like Shitty Hollow Knight. And I want to hear about Animal Farm. Where's Animal Farm? Not the series of unfortunate events. We want Animal Farm. We want to hear the opinions. We gotta know. Oh, I was gonna check other people's. Hold on. I'm reopening that. Who are we doing? Jockey Bacon. He never updates his. Jockey Bacon sucks. Experienced Ultra Repidarian. What a loser. What's he tweeting about Bug Eyes for? Was on a date and bragged that I was one of the top 5 Vinland Saga experts in the world. I'm sorry for lying, everybody. She totally thought I was the coolest, though. That's weird. That's immoral. Oh my god, Jockey Bacon retweeted my great One Piece video. We gotta talk about that later. Shut up, I don't want to hear it. Last time Jockey Bacon told me he was dating a different girl, so maybe this is the same girl. My goodness, what an update. Oh my goodness. Dark Deity 2. So this is what Fire Emblem feels like with a good story. Oh, I like Fire Emblem type games. Dark Deity 2. Show me some images. Oh, it even looks old. We kind of like this, except that I had that Fire Emblem game that I never finished. So, you know, I probably shouldn't, you know, look into these games too much. Documentary? What the hell does this mean? Hey, I'm trying to look here. Oh my god. Linking me right to Mia. Pulp Fiction. It's weird to watch a classic and realize it's not really like what you thought. When Vince and Jules are involved, it's a 9. When they aren't, it's a 4. My goodness, what boiling hot takes from Jockey Bacon. But true, I don't really like Pulp Fiction that much either. Also, Kevin Penenkin. Oh yeah, this guy has the best fucking music or whatever. Who cares? What are you, best guy ever? Smashing Machine, pretty average movie. This is the movie a leader he wants to watch. But some of the set design for the 2000s Japan was very convincing. Felt like a documentary, not a movie sometimes. I don't know if I care enough to watch this movie, but... James Bond, I'll watch those someday. Oh my god, Jockey Bacon with Steins Gate. Still fantastic. Small moments aren't event better. Who would typo in a tweet? This is embarrassing. Big moments feel more dull. Not my de facto number 2 anime, though. True. It ain't mine either. James Bond. Pirates of the Caribbean. This is a 2-part movie. I'm not watching Pirates of the Caribbean. Ain't no way these are good movies. Pride and Prejudice, 2005. Banger film, mate. But there's a 9 there, so I don't know what that's all about. Andor Season 1. Watched all of it on a plane to Canada. Was very engaged and had to stand out scenes. I can see the reason with high head franchise. That being said, I'm not compelled to watch the next season. Oh my goodness, Jockey Bacon hated it. Cars. And a lovely lady told me that it was a masterpiece. Oh my goodness. He's subtweeting his wife. My goodness. So I guess I have to remind myself Indeed's hold up strong. My goodness, I haven't seen Cars in years. Oh my god, remember this YouTube video? Cowboy Bebop, I was involved in that. And oh my god, he put the movie first because he watched it in order. That's lame. Anyway, where's Mia's? I don't know if I'm recording the ending of Claymore, which I have finished with Mia tomorrow, so stick around for that. Oh my god, this Kirby game came out. The IGN review gave it an 8, I believe. Where's the media checklist? Mia's just tweeting so much. My goodness. We gotta go to fucking images. So many images, too. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Nope, that wasn't it either. Chainsaw Man. Have we stopped doing media threads? I don't know what's going on here. But we didn't go over my tweets yet. Can I get rid of this fucking notification I got on my goddamn motherfucking phone? Oh my god, there was a funny Mushoku Tensei and Chainsaw Man people were fighting on Twitter or something, and they were calling the Mushoku Tensei fans a pedophile, so I thought that was funny. But I just did it with a shocked face, because I was very shocked. My shitty Luffy video, Claymore got added to the media checklist. This is, like, not the best image. I feel very weird about manga in putting black and white images, because it doesn't fit. Oh my goodness, did you see that black and white image? What did I do for Monster? Oh yeah, Villain Saga's on here too, huh? Yeah, I didn't do it for Monster either. There's no black and white shit on this. That's how we like it. God damn it. That's all the goddamn tweets. Do we gotta talk about this shitty video? I didn't even like it. It got a lot of comments, which was cute. I don't know how I expected it to do. I guess I'm not disappointed, probably because of the comments. But also, it's hard to title these things. But also, I didn't want to give it a good title because I didn't want a lot of people to see it because I wasn't very confident in the overall product. So, who knows? Maybe my self-sabotaging was indeed the opposite of that. And it was actually very smart. I usually try to get a color spread or volume cover with some standout double page spreads. That is true, but you do like 5 images, right? Doesn't fit with my theme. Anyway, I did a funny bit where Yayo was at the beginning of this. Let's close this fucking Amazon page, huh?
Ever heard of One Piece?
I have.
It's a little manga by Ichiro
We're not watching
Oda.
this whole thing. Minty made fun of me because this was too well edited, which is kind of true. It probably did take me like 3 hours to edit this video. It's not the worst. I used to have big folders of a lot of manga images, like Attack on Titan, Berserk, One Piece, probably even Chainsaw Man. But whenever I lost the old computer, which was like 2 years ago now, I lost most of them. So there's a utility in going and getting a bunch of panels I can use for videos thereafter. Not that I really plan on making One Piece scripted videos, really. So there's the utility of that. I don't know. It makes me capitalize and sort of commit to reading One Piece, I guess. So that's another good alternative. There's a potentiality that it blows up, or it's a potentiality that, like, just the 50 people that might watch it in the lifetime or whatever like it a lot. And, it keeps the core fans engaged or something. Also, I do own the first 6 volumes of One Piece physically, so I did get to read this all physically, which is pretty cool. It is nearly the entirety of Volume 1, except there's an extra chapter called Nami. Oh my god, she's gonna arrive. But this entire video was unscripted. I had notes. Where were the notes? And then I just vaguely said them. I think this is how Itadori does most of his unscripted stuff. He, like, cuts it up. Obviously, he can just put his dumb old face on screen. One Piece read-through notes. Look at all these notes I had. Then I just read them out, kind of. At first, it sounded really bad, and then I cut a bunch of the bits that sounded really bad. Because originally it was like 9 minutes long or something. I like them to be shorter. That was also a thing. People do complain. And on both mine and Ari's videos, whenever we make, like, long discussion videos, there's always, like, a few people every once in a while that are like, man, I really would watch this, but, maybe if it was way shorter. So there's also that aspect to it that might work. But anyway. What's the best One Piece ship? Law x Luffy is the cutest. I don't know nothing about Law, basically, or at least how he interacts with characters. So the best ship is, of course, Sanji and Pudding. Oh, I'm crying right now. Or maybe Big Mom and Kaido, but she did little bro him. So that's sad. Poor Kaido. But also, Shanks and that maid from Chapter 1, they were definitely fucking. That was pretty cool. Anyway, this video's a thing. It's okay. It's pretty
His
good.
swordsman girlfriend
True, I just didn't finish that sentence, so I had to add the ending bit here.
Who may or may not be that girl with smoke, even be
True,
known
we love
in
this great panel that we love. Other than that, I don't know if I have many updates. The Denji video should be out like this week, like as in the week coming. I've definitely figured it out. I just have to ride it. And I did ride it. Oh, I read like 20 Chainsaw Man chapters today. I was reading the beginning of Chainsaw Man Part 2 because I wanted to get details because I didn't want to miss Denji being horny. In the end, it was just a bunch of ass chapters I read anyway. I think I got like 2 little tidbits that I added to the script. But I didn't read chapter 1, I don't know why. Because honestly, I don't remember it too well. Now, what the fuck was that little notification, huh? Yuko is dead. Oh, the aquarium date just started. So it's probably less than 20 chapters, but I read a bunch of chapters today. I think I don't really need to. I kind of want context for Denji screaming he wants sex, and that's why he wants to live when the Falling Devil is attacking, so I'll probably read until at least then. But I think then I'll just have rounded it all the way to where I had read from last time, which I think was... I don't know how much before Fumiko's introduction I read. But yeah, so I might have actually reread all of Part 2 by the time the next Chainsaw Man thing happens. Oh my god, Heath has a little link for us. We'll click on it in a second. But yeah, so I split it again. It's like... But now I have distinct parts. I have Chapter 220 thing. This is the thing you've heard before. And then we've got where the misunderstanding comes from. And then we've got attacking traditional stories. And talking about how Chainsaw Man is totally different. There's even a look back mention here. And there was an Agni mention and a Goodbye Eerie mention, but I was like, I'm not rereading a bunch of chapters from both of them. There's only one Goodbye Eerie chapter to get proper context for that. And I did just rewatch Look Back through the Greater Serbian Lesbian, so that was on the top of my brain. Also, I put a Cluckin' Chickens reference in, but I cut it. Because it was kind of 2 different things I was saying. Then we've got the big recap section, where it's like, here is every Denji interaction in Part 1 about love and horniness and separating them into 2 categories. And then for Part 2, I've sort of just like, nearly all of these are horny, so let's just list all those. Then we'll list the vague asa stuff, where it is about love and intimacy or whatever, which is this part. I don't think Denji ever has any romantic feelings for anybody else in Part 2. Like, I wouldn't describe Fumiko that way. Fami is completely incidental. And the rest are, like, no-name girls, right? I think. But then we move into... Oh, it's like going back to the beginning where you have to explain, basically, that Denji's just never going to be happy. And then we have the Denji's actual, like, thematic internal thematics, which is Denji being selfish. And then we've got pivoting into criticizing the way people talk about character development. And then we've got, why is Chainsaw Man written this way? About realism. And then we've got the conclusion. And then we've got miscellaneous points, and it's 2 pages of stuff that'll probably get made into other videos. But I have at least that figured out yet. And there's a bunch of script and stuff, but I do have to edit things. And also, I want to record all of this at once. I don't want to do the thing where I've kind of fucked myself in this video because I've had to rewrite a bunch of stuff. So there is parts that I've already video edited that I just have to cut now. And basically what I liked doing was finishing this, thinking, oh, I accomplished something. So then to further feel like you've actually accomplished something, you go and record it. And then you video edit it a little bit. Just to have a feeling like, oh, I'm further in the video process than I think I am. But it's not really true. And especially it, like, locks you into this, unless if you want to be lazy. But I'm deciding not to be lazy. I've gone back and cut stuff. Like, this originally, there was a whole different thing here that's already video edited, but then I cut that and put this in. I don't know. It's probably best to finish your script. Because basically, when you're writing a conclusion, you always change it, and then you're like, well, and I really should have seeded that throughout the thing. That was the problem with the most recent Sopranos video. But if you actually hadn't recorded anything, you would just go back and actually seed all that stuff in. Anyway, whatever. Fuck Denji. He's a pussy. What did Heath send? Oh, we stopped recording. Fuck. Well, I don't have to record. I'll just download the YouTube VOD. Oh, not the YouTube VOD. Or let me have a look at my space real quick. Why? What happened to all my fucking space, huh? That's what that notification was before. Oh my goodness, we're running very low on space. Did I not delete the videos? Oh god. Hold on, let's open this one. What's this one? Is this a VOD? It is a VOD. I didn't upload this VOD yet. Come on, give me a chapter review or something that I can delete. Nope, it's another VOD.
That's just
How many times have I streamed? That was a 4-second video that's not going to give me any space, but I may as well delete it anything. And these are old VODs. What the fuck is taking up all this space then? Adobe. Premiere Pro. There's like auto saves you can delete. No, that doesn't delete anything. Did I download something? Reflecting on my October, that's a PNG file. It's also doing the thing where it's not even displaying the files. It's so fucking full. It's got to be Audacity files, right? Oh my god, One Piece audio needs to get deleted. That's very sad. Why aren't you working? Why aren't you letting me delete? There we go. Oh, is my recycling bin full? Is that why? Oh, this is big. Oh, the recycling bin has a bunch of VODs in it. Oh, we're going to be so sweet after that. Oh, 9 gigabytes. You know, it's fucking no big deal. Back to the stream. Oh my god, did I open Heath's video? I have a bunch of videos I want to watch. Alita's reaction video. I haven't.
To another reaction video. This time we're going to be watching.
Shut up, Alita. I'm trying to pause, but shit's lagging. Alita, you got 150 things. We want more of this, Ari. Great vid. I love to see how you understand Fujimoto's style. He doesn't understand fucking shit. Can't wait for you to see the next half. I really wanted to see you react to this. I am very happy we care about you, Ari. Creedon's a bit schizophrenic. Thanks for the reaction and feedback, bro. Epic. Hope you got to read it and do a commentary with Kyle now. Oh my god, does he say he wants to read the manga at the end here? This is crazy. But yeah, I can't watch this yet because I haven't seen the episodes and I haven't read the fucking one-shots yet. So once we do that, we can go back and watch Alita's great reaction. Now, I did watch Alita's great Doctor Who reactions, but I couldn't judge them because I didn't know what the fuck was going on, really. But I will be able to judge the reacting quality in these videos when it happens eventually. Also, Alita did finish Jujutsu Kaisen. Let's bring it up. Well, he didn't talk about finishing yet. He must have read 80 chapters in a few days. Embarrassing. Now, we love you, Ari. Oh, yeah, everybody was saying Alita is a loser. And the great Miller the Killer owned him in real time for reading on that shitty Shonen Jump app that does volumes. That's embarrassing. Much inferior product. Oh, yes, and L. Bacon, because Bacon did not show up for this. I was there when Bacon broke the news to Alita. It was post one of our recordings or something. You know how Jockey Bacon just does a drive-by every once in a while, he said. And Alita, very angry, said, "When are we doing Jujutsu Kaisen, Jockey Bacon?" And then Jockey Bacon said, "Never. Fuck off." And then Alita fucked off. This was like 2 weeks ago, so he did indeed fuck off and do it. But Alita hated Jujutsu Kaisen, so that was pretty cool. I guess people like it for the animation. Couldn't be me. I don't like motion. It's embarrassing, frankly. There are a bunch of good videos. Oh my god, why One Piece needs a remake. This is a great video. There's this great Sopranos video that I didn't watch last time. Oh my god, we were trying to look at Claire Obscura edits to see if I would feel anything. There's this Game Awards video, what I learned analyzing 10 years of the Game Awards. They are biased towards Sony. That's probably what the conclusion's going to be. There's Fujimoto's formula for perfect storytelling. Oh my god, this is like totally what... Oh, but it's going to be about this fake Naruto girl. It's going to be about the one-shot, so I'm going to have to avoid spoilers. Maybe that was just it. There were a few. I feel like we watched this one already. When a bad author breaks all the rules of manga, Is that My Hero Academia or is this Fujimoto? That looks like Fujimoto. That's Maki Marinagni, I think. But it could also be that loser that's on fire, Todoroki from My Hero Academia. We hate that guy. He sucks. We like Bakugo here. Until Bakugo cried, and then I dropped My Hero Academia. That was pathetic. Oh my god, I recognize this channel. I feel like we can get rid of this One Piece video really quick, so let's start this up.
Just recently, we got our first look at the One Piece remake from Wit Studio. They didn't show much, but what they did show, both from the conceptual phase and just the staff that are attached to this project, not only got me really excited, but it got me thinking about what exactly they're trying to pull off here, and what I think they need in order to actually do it. With that being said, here's 10 things the One Piece remake should definitely have if
Oh, it's a curated list. Oh my god, and we get to spoil ourselves.
it wants to please fans, if it wants to please
Pacing.
me, and
That's a big one. Original content, yeah, filler. It needs some good filler, my goodness. New voice actors. Oh, because some people died. That's crazy. Sound design. I didn't know One Piece had bad sound design. One Piece has terrible music. That's famous. Character designs. True. They look a little inconsistent in the original One Piece anime. That art style changes pretty drastically. Animation and direction. They need like the animation direction for Wano. Oh my god, I saw Attack on Titan. The details. Stick with it. A vision. Now this is pretty deep.
if it wants to become a worthy adaptation, something that hasn't been
Oh.
masterpiece. The first thing they need is a fresh start with good pacing. This is not number one by chance. This is without a doubt what the One Piece remake will benefit from the most, and what I think justifies its entire existence. I keep seeing people say, what is the point of this remake? Why are they remaking something that hasn't even finished in its original adaptation? Why are we doing this? Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but One Piece is really goddamn long. That original adaptation started
And it's fucking slow, this shitty anime, I'll tell you
in
what.
1999 and has been airing almost every single week for the past 25 years. That's a lot of episodes. That's a lot of content. There's tons of people out there who genuinely want to get into the series, but don't have the time or the motivation to
I
start.
mean, this is the only reason they're making it, right? People often say the reason they don't get into One Piece, they must have some internal data. It's like, it's way too fucking long. And the anime doesn't need to be that long. The anime should be like 500 episodes, not 1,000 episodes. You can do 2 manga chapters, probably more in some instances, probably less in some instances. An episode for this shit. That's probably the goal, right? And especially, it's like, oh, it's a new show. Everybody can
climbing this enormous wall
watch it.
of over 1,000 episodes. These people are acting like we're redoing something modern here, but the content that this remake is actually adapting hasn't really been done in animation since the 90s. Having a remake that's starting fresh like this is basically the golden opportunity for so many people to finally dip their toes in and experience this wonderful story. However, that's just one side of what the One Piece remake can offer in terms of actually climbing that wall. The other very important advantage that it has over that original Toei adaptation is pace control. You have to realize that Toei's anime for One Piece started only a few years after the manga had started itself, and because it's a weekly
True, they were scared of catching up.
anime adapting a weekly manga,
All that super long drawn out shit doesn't even happen till later though. No, Syrup Village was drawn out terribly, even in the stuff I watched.
well, put 2 and 2 together, eventually the Toei anime had to be very conscious
And
of
I only got halfway through Baratie, I'm pretty
not
sure.
catching up to that source material. What starts in the beginning adapting around 2 chapters per episode later became just 1 chapter per episode, and sometimes even less than that in the worst case situations, all in order to keep this long-running format and never catch up to where the manga is. Now, this entire situation is way more nuanced than just saying, more chapters per episode good, less chapters per episode bad. Don't even get me started on some of the absolutely delusional roadmaps I've seen of adapting all of One Piece in 250 episodes. That is not how any of this works, and you are a fool if you think that's actually a good idea. It's not even that they
True,
have already...
next point.
It's watching Zoro and Sanji washing dishes on the Going Merry as they travel to the next island. It's watching Luffy run in...
True.
You've got a
Filler.
roster of
Good.
voice actors that have been voicing these core and supporting characters already for the past 25 years. We're talking about a main crew of Straw Hats here who are all in their 60s, some almost 70s right now. Even within the currently airing series, compare Frankie's voice from when he was introduced to now, it is unbelievable
Frankie already left or something.
watching anime. Now, back in the 2000s, it's a lot easier to look past the sound design for One Piece. Anime sound design in general just kind of sucked back then, and for that era of One Piece, it actually fit the tone and the limited
True.
note, Eden Zero. They're 2 of my favorite composers, and if you've heard their previous work, I think you'd agree that they would absolutely
Attack
fit
on
One Piece's
Titan
story.
before.
And they both have a history of working on Netflix shows, so even more credibility there. The big advantage of the One Piece remake that can
Oh,
work
it's
out later
probably
on,
just talking
you have
about
sagas
how
that last up
we
to
used to
15
do it.
volumes.
So this video was as boring as I thought. That's fine. The Game Awards, we're going to learn about this. What was the video Heath linked? Did I even click on it? Oh my goodness. Should I mod this guy? I still don't know how to moderate my own chat. Should I pin the message? Should I reply? I can't figure it out.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome
it's a
to
shitty
another
Eliori
reaction
video.
This time we're going to be watching Tatsuki Fujimoto's
Shut up,
17
Elitari! The Game Awards video is so shit. That's what we're fishing for.
In film, Oscar Bate is pejorative label for
How do we have 31k subscribers and... Oh, it's just patrons, right? I was like video producers. Okay. Hold on, everybody. That makes sense.
In film, Oscar bait is a pejorative label for movies that feel less like artistic expression and more like calculated products designed to win Best Picture, either in pursuit of prestige or maybe just to generate ticket sales. They're precision engineered to appeal to the older milquetoast taste of Academy voters. Period dramas, war epics, tortured artists, biopics. Even their release dates are strategic, usually dropping in December to stay fresh in the mind for February's big nights. They're rarely bad films from a technical standpoint, but there's often a sense of pandering, as if they're just trying too hard to be important. And while recent years have done more to highlight films with broader appeal or ones that move beyond those genre cliches, there's still a stigma around movies that seem made
Didn't everybody call Anora Oscar bait?
for accolades rather than intent. Games have a similar stigma, even if their award show isn't quite as prestigious. Every December, the entire industry gathers for its biggest night, one that breaks down to about 20% award ceremony, 8% trailers and ads. The Game Awards, or as I like to call them, the Keeleys, have been running since 2014.
I wonder how much. Because the Game Awards, I'm pretty sure, has always had trailers and stuff, right? Like, what is the... Why are people watching the Game Awards if you divvied it up? Like, I feel like 70% of the people are definitely there for the trailers. Like, last year we got the new Naughty Dog game, we got Witcher 6, and I'm pretty sure there was another big one right at the beginning, right? And there's a million other semi-big ones all throughout. It's like, it is crazy, and it is like demeaning it for being, like, that much trailers is, like, that's, like, the whole appeal of the show, right? E3 doesn't exist anymore. This is where all the big games are fucking announced. Trying to find trends in an award show that's so young was was so pointless. I mean, I don't know, maybe.
14, meaning we now have over a decade of data to sift through.
Oh my goodness. Dragon Age Inquisition, Witcher 3, Overwatch, Breath of the Wild, God of War, Sekiro, The Last of Us Part 2, the only good game on this list. It Takes Two, right? Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, shitty game. We don't like Dungeons & Dragons here. And The Great Astrobot, don't worry, I'll get to it soon. 1, 2... It's only 3 Sony games. What are these fucking idiots complaining about? We got 2 FromSoft games, and they've never made anything good. We got a shitty Nintendo game. We hate that. I know people make fun of them because they gave Overwatch Game of the Year, because everybody's soured on Overwatch now, but...
11 years of what Game of the Year looks like, and maybe what it takes to win one. For about 8 of those 11 years, I've been quietly keeping a spreadsheet of every nominee and winner. It was made to track predictions between friends, but over time I realized it was a data treasure trove. You can actually see the trends that define what makes a prestige game in the eyes of the industry, and which developers, consoles, and genres tend to take home the most awards. If you clicked on this video, you probably already have a mental image of what a Keighley-based game of the past decade looks like, and unsurprisingly, the data backs it up. As well as...
I mean, let's go back to this. 2014 is, like, notorious for being a bad year. For games, but I know maybe the Shadow of Mordor game, I know a lot of people say that probably should have won. Are any of these others that controversial? Witcher 3 obviously wins this year. I guess what else came out in 2016 that Overwatch wouldn't win? Breath of the Wild for most people is like the best game of all time. God of War Ragnarok people really love. Sekiro people really love. Now obviously Last of Us 2 is very controversial, but it was always going to win the Game Award. I don't know what else was happening in 2021. It Takes Two is kind of weird. Elden Ring is obvious. Baldur's Gate 3 is obvious. I guess Astrobot is a little controversial. I forget what was up also last year.
the year looks like, and maybe what it takes to win one. For about 8 of them,
But it's always just like...
meaning we now have over a decade of data to sift.
This has nothing to do with Jeff Keighley. This is just like game critics, right? This is all of what they would say. Like, there's also a narrative to all of these games, right? The Last of Us Part 2 got a lot of hate. Elden Ring is always going to win that year. Witcher 3 is always going to win that year. Breath of the Wild is always going to win its year. Sekiro was like the underground cool choice for that year. Astrobot was like the 3D platformer is back. Let's try to get behind it and champion it. Right, that's the whole reason why Astrobot won. Baldur's Gate 3 was probably nearly as undeniable as these are the ones. Everybody loves this fucking game. But also, it is like a darling in that sphere of like, oh, creative, you can do whatever you want type things. I mean, for a awards show, you just have to have a different, like, opinion than what the general opinion is going to be, because the general opinion would be like, obviously Avengers should win Best Picture every year, and probably Call of Duty should win Game of the Year every year, right? But anyway, one of his points is that 6 out of the 10 winners were at least on PlayStation, not even exclusives. Are any of these games not on PlayStation? Baldur's Gate is the only one that might not be on PlayStation. The rest of them, or Breath of the Wild. The rest of them certainly are.
Through.
Yeah, but not even exclusives. That is true. Well, I guess none of these... Well, only Astrobot is the only exclusive still, right? Because Last of Us Part 2 is on PC, and so is God of War. I don't think Astrobot is yet.
11 years of what Game of the Year looks like, and maybe what it takes to win one. For about 8 of those 11 years, I've been quietly keeping a spreadsheet of every nominee and winner. It was made to track predictions between friends, but over time I realized it was a data treasure trove. You can actually see the trends that define what makes a
Hey, I already listened to this.
as well as being highly rated on Metacritic and this decade looks like, and unsurprisingly, the data backs it up. As well as being highly rated on Metacritic and OpenCritic, nearly all of them are single-player action-adventure titles, often published by Sony or at least primarily.
It is true. Didn't Shroud get in trouble for this recently on Twitter? But like, he said, "Fuck Expedition 33, it sucks." Expedition 33, by the way, if you look at those nominations, is very obviously going to win Game of the Year. Not that anybody thought it wasn't before the nominations came out, but it's in like every category, and it's clearly going to win every category. Plus, it has the narrative thing, right? 3 people fucking put their soul into this game, and it was so great. And they found some guy on Reddit to do the music, and it's the best gaming soundtrack of all time. And all this shit is going to pile into it.
On PlayStation consoles.
Oh, but Shroud was saying, fuck that game, Ark Raiders or whatever, the new shooter game should win Game of the Year. But it's true. If you want to talk about massive biases here, it is definitely towards single-player games, which it very much is the community that's, like, watching this, right? Like, all the big announcements are single-player games. It's not like the new Call of Duty getting announced. Though I know one of those did get announced at the Game Awards one time, and everybody was shitting on it because it was, like, the last surprise or something.
6 of the winners carry a PEGI 18 rating for graphic violence and strong language, and most aim for a mature tone, games that try and elevate the usual power fantasy to something more grounded and gritty. Perhaps the most emblematic Keighley-bait game then is Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2, released in 2020. It doesn't just tick all the boxes, its predecessor practically invented them back in 2013. A more mature take on third-person shooting, an epic single-player campaign, and the now standard sad dad protagonist that has been endlessly replicated by games chasing its success. As a result, The Last of Us Part 2 is the closest thing the Game Awards has ever had to James Cameron's Titanic, nominated for 11 awards and winning 7, the most of any game in the show's history. It almost feels like it was engineered to
It's the
sweep
best game of all time, you know?
ceremony. Funnily enough, Insomniac Spider-Man 2 might be David Lynch's The Elephant Man of games, nominated for 8 awards in 2023 and winning none. Turns out having all these same prerequisites as The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't guarantee the same success. Despite their prestige,
I mean, there just is a stank on it because it's like a licensed game, right?
these Game of the Year winners aren't especially complex mechanically. Action-adventure is such a broad label it can describe anything from Hollow Knight to Assassin's Creed, yet they all share common DNA. Character-focused, story-driven experiences where the goal isn't mastery over other players, but overcoming a series of carefully designed challenges. The rest follow similar patterns, action RPGs, platformers, with only a single competitive FPS taking the crown back in 2016. They even tend to look the same. Out of 11 winners, 9 are third-person games, all sharing nearly identical control schemes. Press A or X if you're on PlayStation, and your character jumps. That's not just a coincidence, it applies to more than half of all Game of the Year nominees, 33 out of 62. It's a shared ludic language that makes these games approachable to a wider audience, but it also highlights how limited our idea of state-of-the-art can really be. It's not a controversial statement to say that The Last of Us Part 2 earned its accolades. It's technically stunning for its hardware, and while it's become divisive in hindsight due to false advertising and muddled storytelling, its unflinchingly bleak tone remains rare in games. It also plays incredibly well, largely because it builds on familiar mechanics to create a focused, cohesive vision of stealth and improvised combat in a decaying world. But those familiar, audience-approved mechanics, paired with its relentless emotional heaviness, makes it feel almost like a parody of a Game of the Year winner. Keighley-bait aligns so closely with Oscar bait because both of them stem from a similar insecurity, the desire to be taken seriously. For games, that means striving to be recognized alongside film and television. As a result, these titles often borrow heavily from those mediums, cutscene heavy.
This is probably true in some aspect, but it is just like you can look at this as an underlining motivation. I don't think this is ever a conscious motivation, though. It is probably in the other direction. Like, if one of the most popular games of the year was like the gaming equivalent of Chainsaw Man, where it was like overwroughtly horny or something like that, then yeah, probably it wouldn't win Game of the Year. That's also interesting. Also, we're not really talking about how any of these games get Game of the Year, which I'm pretty sure it is like panel nominated by like international consortium of game critics and journalists, right?
Packed with star-studded voice casts and telling epic stories about morally ambiguous anti-heroes. The difference is that playing them rarely carries that same internal complexity. Instead, you're often just pointing and shooting away through prestige moments. What's especially interesting is how that relationship runs both ways. Almost every single Game of the Year winner has since been adapted, or at least optioned for film or television. The Last of Us became an HBO series, The Witcher got a Netflix adaptation, The Legend of Zelda is getting a live-action movie, and Baldur's Gate 3, well, that's just D&D already. Many of these adaptations have gone on to receive similar accolades, which suggests that a Game of the Year winner could just as easily be a Best Picture or Best Limited Series contender. What's striking about that is how little of it has to do with what makes games games. There's rarely any focus on competition.
True, the jockey bacon talking points about games should be what make games special, which means pressing a button on a controller.
Exploration, mechanical mastery, or even interactivity. Instead, the winners tend to be recognized for narrative, art direction, score, performance, and sound design, all things that have their own categories at the ceremony. That's a pretty startling
Best game feel, my favorite award.
realization, and one that sets the Game Awards apart from ceremonies like the Seamus McNally Prize or the DICE Awards, both of which have been running longer but rarely get the same spotlight. But what does the rest of the data tell us? Well, when it comes to that Oscar bait window of release, the pattern's actually a little different for games. Tracking the gap between each winner's official release date, not counting early access and the ceremony itself, the average came out to around 200.
Well, games have a very different production cycle than movies, right? Movies are usually done for a while before they come out. At least that's how I understand it. When games are getting pushed back constantly as they try to hit deadlines.
Days. In other words, most winners launched around June or July. That makes sense. Big releases tend to cluster around the year's major breaks.
Like, it would be very interesting to look at this map and then look at when they were initially supposed to come out come out. You could even look at that internally if you had like journalistic reports on that, or just in terms of like like pre-announced dates. Like The Last of Us was pushed back twice. I don't know if Astrobot was. God of War probably was.
Holidays, Easter, summer, Labor Day, Halloween. It also gives plenty of time for these games to be played and soak into the culture. You rarely see nominees drop right before the event, mostly because of the cut-off date. The one big exception, and a fitting one for the show's very first year, was Dragon Age Inquisition in 2014, which was released just 17 days before the ceremony. It still won, and to this day it holds the record for the shortest gap between release and award night. On the flip side, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has the longest gap, releasing just one day after the previous year's ceremony aired. These GOTY nominations are also built by massive teams, with the average headcount rising from around 1,000 to 1,500 over the years. Some outliers are even bigger. Red Dead Redemption 2 credited 4,128 developers. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth listed
That is
3,000.
crazy. What won that year? What was 2017? It wasn't Overwatch, it was the one after that. Hey, where's the fucking image of all of them?
awards. Looks like, and maybe
Oh, Breath of the Wild. Fuck me, did that come out the same year? It did, didn't it? Red Dead Redemption 2. Or is that 2018? Oh, it is 2018. God of War won over Red Dead Redemption 2. That's interesting.
what it takes to win one. For about 8 of those 11 years, I've been quietly keeping a spreadsheet
Shut
of
up,
every
I
nominee
was
to
talking about
17
something.
languages. On average, most Game of the Year winners are available in around 14 major languages, a number that's steadily improved year by year. Around 80 credited contributors, not just the core developers and artists, but translators, QA, and distribution teams as well. And while games like Animal Well and Balatro adventure game, and the same goes for RPG and family game if you're a platformer. The inverse is true for indies. If you win Best Independent Game, you're unlikely to also win Game of the Year. Then there are those genre awards themselves, which are almost entirely dominated by the same familiar names. Nintendo, for example, have won nearly
Okay, I'm a little bored by this video.
every year they've been nominated in Sim Strategy, except for Advanced Wars Reboot Camp. FIFA has been nominated in the combined sport.
That's sad. Are we ready to learn about Tatsumi Fujimoto, my favorite guy? Is there any evidence that devs care about this award like producers do for the Oscars? I guess not. In that one video I watched about that Shakespeare movie I watched, there was a lot in that video about how Harvey Weinstein was trying very hard to get that video an Oscar, that movie an Oscar, which he did, and he did like do the release date things for that. So I guess there is evidence that movie studios do it, but I don't know about games. I wonder if there's like a sales spike if you win Game of the Year. Like, you obviously get to put it on a cover, but there are a bunch of Game of the Year editions that aren't from the Game of the Year Game Awards category, right? There's a lot of, like, most games have that on them, of, like, the nominees and stuff like that. But true. I think this is the guy that made bad Chainsaw Man videos, but I can't remember. So let's see. And what was the other one? Oh my god, yes, Tatsumi Fujimoto. He's going to levitate. This is him, guys. A leader, he's going to get triggered.
Of Tatsuki Fujimoto's stories the same? Why does he always come up with such bizarre stories? And what is it he does to make every one of these stories so popular? In this video, I'm gonna list the 3 pieces of Fujimoto's proven formula for story writing.
Fire Punch isn't popular. It's this cool underground thing that I like.
Discuss the impact they each have on his stories, and explain how Fujimoto uses
Oh my god, we've got one of these, like, OCs.
this formula to consistently break the manga industry. And he does that by starting every story with a duo. Even in his early one-shots, Fujimoto always uses a relationship between 2 characters to drive the story. And the reason he does this is to make
I love relationships and stories. It's
each of these
groundbreaking.
stories character-driven, because in other kinds of stories, when you mainly focus on one character, the character naturally dominates the narrative. And with that kind of perspective, the story usually revolves around what that character's goals are. Dragon Ball follows Goku's goal to be stronger. Naruto wants to be Hokage. Luffy wants to be the Pirate King. Even Bleach is more character-driven, but still focuses on Ichigo's personal goals. This narrow focus naturally gives these kinds of stories a more individualistic tone, but Fujimoto opts for main duos so that he can focus on character relationships rather than goals. A great example of how this affects his stories is A Couple of Clucking Chickens. This is a story of survival, which
I've seen this one. I don't have to skip and
in many
feed it.
cases would lead to selfish characters who only think about themselves.
Well, I ain't seen the shitty anime version.
But Fujimoto uses 2 main characters in this
Ew! Why is this guy green and this guy blue? I hate it.
story who depend on each other for survival. Ami needs Yuto for protection, but Yuto also needs Ami to understand how humans feel.
Is this when they're thinking about chickens? This is cute.
If this were just about Ami, this story might play out more like Promised Neverland, and Ami would have to train to outsmart the aliens. But in this story, she's saved by Yuto, and Yuto only grows because of his friendship with Ami. By focusing on one relationship rather than one character, Fujimoto provides stories that allow us to think about the world we live in rather than the goals we set for ourselves. It's also worth noting that these stories can have several important relationships. This is something we see in Fire Punch, where Agni has his sister, as well as his dynamic with Togata. But both of these dynamics give us perspective.
Togata?
on how we view ourselves. Luna is practically a curse. While absent for most of the story, she's a constant influence that pushes Agni to live on, even in agonizing pain. Meanwhile, Togata uses movies and propaganda to create a myth surrounding Agni, exploring this idea that we are the product of how everyone else views us. Evidently, Fujimoto uses these relationships to explore a different kind of perspective on identity. While typical shonen anime explore identity through clear goals, Fujimoto's stories always explore identity through the lens of other characters. They always feel similar to the famous line from John Paul Sartre in his play No Exit. Hell is other people. Much like we see in all of his stories, we can never escape the eyes of other people. And in each of these stories, the characters have to learn to accept this rule before they can figure out how to find their own identity. Agni struggles with it, Denji struggles with it as he becomes the Chainsaw Man.
True. Chainsaw Man gets popular and Agni gets all cult about
And
it.
especially in Sisters, a story where the older character struggles to escape the shadow of her younger sister. But I bring up Sisters not just to
Hey, I
emphasize this
haven't
first
read
point,
this
but
one
also to
yet.
explain how it seems to be missing the second principle. Specifically, how Fujimoto always writes about the supernatural. Obviously, writing stories about the supernatural makes the plot more interesting, but using the supernatural also ties into one of Fujimoto's main philosophies
What about Look Back?
when it comes to writing stories. In an interview for Shonen Jump, Fujimoto explains that he's always trying to write something that
But I went under the door and into the past.
readers will never forget, a principle that's also used by Araki and many other writers. While you can achieve this in more realistic settings, using supernatural elements like randomly waking up as a girl or playing piano for mermaids at the bottom of the ocean makes it a lot easier for Fujimoto to create scenes that instantly become memes. One of my favorite examples of this is Love is Blind. As expected of Fujimoto, he doesn't write your typical romance story. If this were something like Kaguya-sama, the main character would have to pretend like he isn't in love, only to declare his love later on. Instead,
True,
we get a
we
story
hate Kaguya-sama and traditional stories. It's part
where
of
the
my
character
script.
is so determined to confess his feelings that he's willing to ignore increasingly dramatic situations. First his chores, then a robbery, and even an alien invasion. The influence of these events makes the story more dramatic and helps it stand out from every other romance story. Of course, the influence of supernatural events is even more recognizable in the popularity of Chainsaw Man. Everyone who makes a dog sign with their hand is immediately reminded of Aki and Kon. Anyone who hears the word boom is instantly reminded of Reze or Makima. And of course, who can forget the famous Kobeni dance? A scene like that is only possible in a world where everyone is dominated by a fear of devils. And this is the advantage to writing supernatural
Is that
stories, which makes it all the more confusing why there's nothing supernatural about Sisters. To be fair, Fujimoto added a touch of this when he revised the story in Look Back, but Sisters stands out as the one story lacking this crucial element. You could argue this helps Sisters stand out as one of Fujimoto's more character-driven stories, which is exactly what made Look Back so popular. But it also holds the story back from possessing that unique personality that every Fujimoto story has, like Fire Punch or Chainsaw Man. One explanation is that focusing too much on the supernatural can distract from the main duo and their relationship. As an example, Nayuta of the Prophecy is probably the most recognizable of Fujimoto's early stories, and he's even quoted as saying he made Nayuta in spite of his editor saying he couldn't write unique characters. Naturally, he went ahead and wrote a story about a cute
That's interesting.
demon girl with cataclysmic powers that only speaks
Sounds like a retarded editor.
and obscenity. But while the story has themes like prophecies and being viewed as a monster, Nayuta lacks the kind of profound relationship that we see in Sisters. Because it goes all in on the demon powers and the looming threat of world destruction, we don't really dive deep into the relationship between Nayuta and her brother. On the other hand, Sisters doesn't have anything supernatural, but goes all in on the characters. If anything, I would argue the nude painting is Fujimoto's substitute for something supernatural, as it's just as weird as a demon girl. But this highlights the
It's just like a list of commonalities. This isn't really a formula. But true, they do have a duo. They do have supernatural stuff. There is a whole thing about perception and identity and how loose that is. And there is usually some sort of art piece at the end that is reflected on by other characters.
the importance of both of these principles. Without exploring two main characters, the story loses that character-driven narrative that allows us to view these different perspectives
And now he's saying that this one didn't have one of those things.
on identity. And without the supernatural, it's harder to experience the kind of scenes that you will only find in a story written by Fujimoto. But even with both of these things, there's still not enough without the last principle, the element of fate. This piece ties into the theme of main duos in the way Fujimoto often explores perceptions and identity. But these themes often build up to a final decision in the finale of each story. And this decision always has to do with how a character decides to face their fate. The best example of this can be seen in Sasaki Stops a Bullet. Obviously, this story deals with fate because the
Why
main
don't we
character
just
is able to stop a bullet. Fate would tell you that it's impossible to stop a bullet. But because of his faith in the teacher who he believes to be a god, Sasaki defies fate and stops a bullet with his own hands. Fate in this sense isn't necessarily personal destiny, but more about the forces outside of our control, the laws of the universe, the rules created by society. All of these things that we assume can never change until we decide to change them. In some of his stories, characters overcome fate to become who they want to be. Shikaku tries to defy the immortality of Yuguru. Toshihide decides to be a man despite everyone telling him he's a woman. But in other stories, characters struggle to survive when they are greatly overwhelmed by fate. Agni can't escape his sister's influence, Denji can't escape Makima's control, Fujino struggles to understand how her actions changed Kiyomoto.
This doesn't feel like it applies to any of the not one-shots, right? Because Denji totally escapes Makima's control. Like, he doesn't think about Makima really at all anymore. Agni and his sister coming to get back together isn't really about him not being able to escape her. It's more like a funny moment that, like, the universe, like, is validating his delusion about it being his sister. What's another big one? I don't know.
Path in life. The reason fate is so important is because it ties together with the first two principles, and it allows Fujimoto to tell the kinds of stories that are both tragic and
There's definitely a fate thing to them, but I don't think it's a fate thing. It's like a inescapable, like, reality bearing down on them, and then, like, some sort of funny aside that is taken from an observing character. Like, the chickens one is like that. Fire Punch is like that. Chainsaw Man isn't, because it's really still ongoing. But even Look Back is kind of like that, right?
and inspiring. Fate is often a major theme in the main
And
relationships.
especially Goodbye Yuri at the end when he's like revealing that all the stuff in the movie was fake or whatever. And then there's the sad moment where he sees her again or whatever, and then it blows up.
As the characters struggle with the expectations of others. It's the overwhelming force that dominates characters, but also empowers them to write their own rules. And by the time each of these stories ends, readers often feel a combination of overwhelming happiness and crippling depression. This is often due to the existentialist themes that drive the stories and
I'm
make
so
readers
depressed. Denji's sad.
responsible for
and he got raped.
deciding what they mean. It's also what leads Fujimoto to write morally ambiguous stories as he moves away from the short stories that are clearly inspiring and provide endings that are pretty much spelled out for readers. But funny enough, the less Fujimoto's stories are spelled out in black and white, the more popular they become. Every one of his stories is more popular than the last one. Chainsaw Man is more popular than Fire Punch. And as popular as Look Back is, even more people want to see Goodbye Eri animated. And it's all because Fujimoto uses the same formula over and over and is constantly fine-tuning it. In fact, you can even see how this formula has worked for other writers. His assistant, Yukinobu Tatsu, followed
Yeah, it didn't dance like the same thing,
the
bro.
same formula when he made Dandadan. The story is driven by the relationship between Okarun and Momo. It deals with supernatural creatures like aliens and yokai, and there's themes of fate in every arc. While Tatsu may not have deliberately copied this formula, the power of it explains why Dandadan is so popular. People love the romance.
I mean, the more direct, immediately Dandadan thing is like going crazy with the initial concept, right? That's like the immediate thing that makes you think of Chainsaw Man, where it's like, devils can be anything and they will be anything, and this is wacky, and it's all like very conceptual. Whereas the beginning of Dandadan is like, aliens are real and so are spirits, and there's going to be a bunch of crazy things, and they're very wacky.
They love the weird monsters and powers, and they're inspired by the way Okarun and Momo grow together despite their own self-doubts. You can also see the power of this formula in other popular manga. Hell's Paradise, a story by Fujimoto's other assistant Yuji Kaku, Undead Unluck, a story about a main couple with superpowers that literally allow them to break the laws of nature and fight God. More recently, you can see it in Mad, which I always tell to people as sci-fi Fire Punch.
True, people keep talking about Mad a lot. That Sufferance guys made like 3 videos on this, saying how it's like Attack on
Been in
Titan.
Shueisha's top 20 manga for a while now, and it makes perfect sense when it feels so much like a Fujimoto story. It's because it follows the exact same formula. A main duo to provide a character-driven story, supernatural forces to provide instant memes and cool fights, and an element of fate to create stories where characters either inspire us or remind us how cruel the world really is. It's this formula that makes every one of Fujimoto's stories fun to read, but it also makes his stories unlike anything else. Even when other authors use it, you can't avoid the feeling like this is something Fujimoto wrote. And that's how he became one of the best writers in all of manga.
True. If you are inspirational, you are the best. But I don't know, it didn't really feel like a formula there. Anyway. The Naita episode was the most boring out of everything that just came out by far. I'm such a hater today, this video just feels like a bad excuse to name drop everything that came out in the ONA. Guys, the story is supernatural and the characters have dynamics. Jesus, guy is obviously inspired by Fujimoto. You know, sometimes when you speak in truth, Heath, it hurts to hear it. And that fellow, he was speaking truth. Oh, this is another Fujimoto video.
Is Tatsuki Fujimoto. For years, he was called a bad artist by people
Did we already watch this?
in the manga industry because he just wasn't that good at drawing. Until one day, he created Chainsaw Man. Fast forward to today, he has received some of the biggest awards you could imagine. The authors of Dandadan, Hell's Paradise, and even Spy Family worked as his assistants, and his manga has sold 30 million copies. So today, I'm gonna show you what he did with
300000000. I was
every
guessing.
other
I don't know
author.
if I got the right number of zeros.
And he went from some manga has sold 30 million copies. So today, I'm going to show you what he did differently from every other author. And he went from someone who could barely draw to one of the most legendary manga authors in history. Okay guys, let's be honest.
Didn't he go to art school for painting or something?
We are living in a crazy
Oh my god, he's holding Goku in the microphone. That's kind of
time for
funny.
manga. I mean, nowadays, some of these authors are
There's this fucking dude that I've never heard of 136,000 subscribers. This means he's like the second biggest anime channel. How to write second strongest and how not to. Ooh, I'm gonna learn how to write. It's gonna be good. How to and not to write a terrifying protagonist. We got the great Guts here, who was apparently scary, maybe for a big pussy. And maybe this is a solo leveling guy. How a final chapter determines a legacy, with the great Guts in the middle with his great final chapter. Modern anime that will be classics. My goodness, what's a modern anime that will be a classic? What's like a beloved industry anime from like the 2020s? Like everything I just thought of was too popular or too niche. Wonder Egg Priority had a bad ending, so nobody's gonna think of it that way. Sunny Boy is too niche. Everything else is like shonen slop. We can't call that a classic unless it's Hunter x Hunter. I've run out of ideas.
so wildly talented. We have stuff like Dandadan, Gachiakuta, The Climber, and a ton of other series that just look beautiful. But here's the thing. Tatsuki Fujimoto always felt like there was something wrong with him.
Hey, stop
Like other
going
artists were
flat.
just better. Even his fans usually say that he doesn't have the same skills as a lot of other authors. So even though he didn't have these traditional drawing
Well, he did for a little while, and then he really fell off in Chainsaw Man Part 2.
skills, he became an incredible artist in a very different way, with the power of cinema. Literally, if you look at Chainsaw Man, there's a panel that perfectly shows that. It looks absolutely trippy because the entire hallway is bending, which is supposed to feel like a fisheye lens that's used in cinema to give a super, distorted look. And yeah, most people immediately think about Chainsaw Man when talking about Fujimoto, but I
Fire Punch just looks great, right? So this video is retarded.
would like to show you a small manga he made called Goodbye Theory. For almost the entire story, you see the main character filming everything through a camera, which already looks very different. Sometimes you can even see these lines that represent a shaky camera. There's a scene at the beginning of the story where
You know what was interesting is when I went to get those like 2 Dragon Ball panels for the One Piece video, I think in my head Dragon Ball just looked exactly like One Piece, or at least early One Piece, and it doesn't at all. It looks really different. It's like oddly like dotted. I went to say sketchy, but that's not what I meant at all. Like it feels like there's like a weird texture to the paper. First of all, I own the first 2 volumes of Dragon Ball dubbed, where it all looks like this, and it looks like it's a colored page that needs to be colored in. But it's not. It's like dotty. Like the texture is weird. And it's like everywhere on the page. Like the whole thing. Uh-oh, Goku's gonna get naked. Let's skip past this part. But it looks weird, right? Maybe it's just chapter 1? No, see, it all looks like this. It has like more shading or something? I don't know enough about art to identify this. Goku's naked again. Let's just scroll past that. Oh, Bulma's naked again. Dragon Ball's a very horny manga for children. What can we say? We got the great turtle. We're meeting Turtle here. We're going to go meet Master Roshi. Oh my god, Yamcha's going to sneak up on her and she's going to actually be naked and we're going to get in trouble. But look, it looks weird. It's not what I remembered it looking like at all. That's cute. Do you think that those are AI thumbnails? I didn't see. Was this one? No, they seem like they have like an art style, right? Now AI can have art style, but I don't think like that. But true.
the main character is being told off by one of his teachers for showing a very brutal movie to his class. And during the entire scene, it's basically the exact same panel 9 times where the teacher is just talking to him.
I want to watch this video. It's a Sopranos video.
The bold and improvised decision to cut a key scene.
Where the fuck is she? Where is she? Please don't.
Oh, that's right. I freaked out at this scene, but this scene actually is in season 6, so this isn't a deleted scene.
The deliberate manipulation of the viewer.
It's Crystal. You tried to commit suicide.
Oh my
But
god.
also, it looks like most of this video is about like Tracy.
Also, hypocrisy of his characters and the use of this particular shot. All of it shaped one of the darkest twists in television history. An episode so brutal, it's almost nauseating to watch. A twist that
It's
changed
not
the series
that
forever. A descent into a darkness it could never escape. From that moment on, The Sopranos became something else entirely. One of the most pessimistic and emotionally desolate shows ever made.
Only 4
The Sopranos
videos.
is a landmark chapter in television and early 2000s popular culture. Premiering in 1999, it chronicles the 2 lives of Tony Soprano, the personal, familial, and relatable, and the chaotic, morbidly criminal.
True.
It's one of those series that
Look at how
paved the way
pretty
for
this
early
show is,
2000s
huh?
popular culture.
Look at all
Premiering in
these
1999, it chronicles the 2 lives of Tony Soprano, the personal, familial, and relatable, and the chaotic, morbidly criminal. It's one of those series that paved the way for everything that came after.
What do you want, Tony? Couldn't bring this in himself?
A pizza.
You know what? Fuck you.
Fuck me. Fuck you.
True, they both had pizzas and got rejected at the door. And then Tony came back in to get the pizza.
The show is rich in tonal variety, and it knows how to separate the 2 worlds that coexist
Oh my god,
within
the
it.
greatest shot in anything I've ever seen in my life.
The
Hold
show
on,
is
hold on,
rich in
Livia
tonal
on the
variety,
stairs.
and it knows how
Oh, yeah.
to separate the 2 worlds that coexist within it. There's the human, identifiable intimacy of each episode's family dramas, ordinary, endearing, and familiar. On the other side, there's the stark, desensitizing brutality of its criminal plots, where violence and evil can be so casual that, at times, they border on the absurd and comedic.
You're not gonna believe this. He killed
I
16
I think the whole point of the show is that there's no distinction between these 2 things, but
Czechoslovakians.
go off, King.
Guy was an inferior decorator. This house looked like shit.
It's in that contrast
True,
that the
that
deeper
joke.
truths emerge, hypocrisies, denials, sharp ironies, and ultimately, injustices, and a heavy pessimistic weight. Take, for example, the 3rd season episode, University. Here we see a subtle alternation
Tracy.
between the lives of 2 women of the same age, both connected to Tony Soprano. Meadow, his privileged college-age daughter, and Tracy, a dancer at Tony's club, lover of one of his most ruthless captains, Ralph Cifaretto. This intercutting of characters throughout the episode exposes the selective morality and humanity of Tony and those around him. Meadow is portrayed with warmth and respect, her sexuality and romance explored through the lens of middle-class privilege. Within the cozy intimacy of a family environment, we recognize and
Tracy is treated terribly.
relate to. Tracy, by contrast, is treated as a commodity. Her misery and innocence are uncomfortable, even inconvenient, for the protagonist.
What am I looking at?
My teeth. I got braces.
What do you want, a parade? Oh, what I tell you about fraternizing?
I'm not. I'm just showing Tony my braces.
Yeah? Well, I didn't shell out 3 crackers for you to be modeling your teeth. Get to work. Anything else?
Through this parallel, the episode also reveals a painful truth to the audience. We too participate in this selective humanization, judging differently and softly do our viewers sympathy while we follow them, and humanizing these sociopathic characters, and the world where they soil their hands to afford that illusion of sanctity.
True, I've never heard this before.
Then I go to pour the milk and the carton is empty.
It also exposes an uncomfortable truth about class and highlights a recurring theme in the series, the constant violence endured by its women. Ironically, the least brutalized woman of all is Meadow Soprano herself. It reveals the coexistence of two parallel truths, two moral dimensions that the characters drift between, switching their ethics as it suits them. And that is the episode's sole intention, to show that both worlds exist in paradox, and to leave you alone with the conclusion as the credits roll.
That's a woman getting beaten to death.
But is there nothing to eat in this house?
The Sopranos
Meadow
goes
got
darker
broken up
season
with.
after season through episodes like this one, and with each passing season, it edges closer to breaking one of its own unbreakable laws.
Family comes before everything else. Everything.
Crossing the line dividing family and crime is a theme that gets explored throughout the entire series. Not exactly a taboo
Okay, he's coming around. He's
in a
saying
literal
it.
sense, but in many ways it is. Because the way the audience is guided, or rather manipulated, through shifting tones, moral values, and self-contradictory actions, especially when it comes to Tony Soprano, begins to feel like a kind of gaslighting. A psychological game that denies what the viewer once believed to be true. And eventually we reach an irreconcilable point, a breaking of trust between the characters and us. Long-term parking, episode 12 of season 5, represents that point of no return. It directly
This is true, but for me, the breaking point is not Adriana at all. It's definitely Christopher.
brutally confronts
I
the
don't know.
central question.
For your wife, and your children, and your mother, and your father. It's a thing of honor.
When things get serious, who will they choose? Family or family? This episode is among the most devastating in the entire show, not because it indulges in sentimentality, but because it reveals the worst possible version of this world and its characters. The episode unfolds across 3 narrative threads. Adriana is cornered by the FBI and confides in Christopher, who's in the middle of his worst loyalty crisis yet. New York corners Tony, pressuring him to hand over his cousin, Tony B., now working as a hitman against the Sacrimony family. Carmela finalizes a deal for a piece of land to build her dream home as part of her reconciliation with Tony. The first duo of protagonists involves a monster as tragic as it is frightening. Christopher Moltisanti, an errand boy turned hitman and captain, has slowly been losing the respect of both his uncle Tony and the crew he serves. The season marks the
You think this is an AI voice?
beginning of his descent, addiction, depression, and a deteriorating bond with his so-called family. At the precise moment they're supposed to intervene him emotionally. Christopher's tragic arc is all about how he can never escape his uncle's shadow to gain his own autonomy, how he's drained by Tony piece by piece until there's nothing left to take. This episode is particularly cathartic and becomes his moment of reckoning, because it materializes the tragic decision that will haunt him until his very last scene, mirroring that previous symbolic decision he made a few seasons back. The crisis erupts in pure instability. Christopher loses faith in Tony completely as he confesses to Adriana, and she, cornered and manipulated by the FBI, trapped between 2 walls, makes her choice, to trust her instinct and the man she's loyal to.
Oh my god, what are we gonna do?
With this twist, the episode and all its built-up tension narrows down to a single dilemma.
That is domestic violence. We disavow that. 400 subs? That doesn't mean nothing.
Christopher's choice. What will he do? This man once hailed as the family's heir apparent. Which
I
family
mean, it definitely is an AI voice now that I've heard it, right?
will he choose? The Sopranos frequently relies on the use of the
It was harder to tell when it was sped up, okay?
subjective shot, a cinematic device that allows its characters to speak directly to us from his own perspective. It's a way to collapse the distance between the viewer and the carefully but external constructed spaces of each scene staging, drawing us into a character's private perspective. The series in particular uses this tool to share the character's train of thought through previously established visual codes from the screenplay, condensing complex emotional ideas into brief, definitive images. And in this episode, that technique reaches one of its most significant uses. From this point on, the story will
Is
communicate
it just gonna be Adriana's fantasy?
its final act through these subjective shots.
I have to wait around like everyone else. Can't even get decent
True,
food.
it is like that Goodfellas scene.
Right after I got here, I ordered some spaghetti with marinara sauce and I got egg noodles
No,
and
it's
ketchup.
just... Now, this is an important scene.
I'm an average nobody. Get to live the rest of my life like a schnook.
There was a deleted scene, later restored in season 6, showing what happens immediately afterward when Chris decides to go see Tony, but the decision to remove it couldn't have been more effective. Its absence transforms the sequence into something sharper, more haunting, a twist that feels unexpected and treasonous. There's a delicate foreshadowing. Tony's call from a payphone, a small, easy-to-miss gesture, and from there, the suspense tightens into something cruel and cold. The use of visual subjectivity, putting us entirely in Adriana's perspective, evokes the grammar of classic mafia cinema that the show has long referenced. As subjective framing returns to prominence, Adriana watches her own future slip away, quite literally through her hands. In a dreamlike scene, she envisions herself driving down a highway toward freedom. Then a sharp cut. She reacts to her own fantasy as the camera switches axis, pulling us back to the brutal truth. Almost like Tony watches himself sitting in the jump cut in the final episode. Through the interplay of point of view and spatial context, we, along with Adrian, is quiet and unintentionally convinced us they could never cross. The crime and family worlds collide in the most horrendous way and merge coldly in that because still hold meaning for these people, for these characters we can no longer trust. Christopher has made his choice. His tragedy is complete.
That's the guy, Adriana. My Uncle Tony. The guy I'm going to hell for.
Everything for a man who, with all his cynicism, risked a war just to avoid handing over his cousin in that same episode.
You know what, John? Go fuck yourself.
Well, it's not entirely true.
Deal with fail and whoever. My fucking cousin.
And watching as Christopher bears the weight of what he himself didn't have the courage to do in the episode, he just...
You think you're alone in this?
Because That is the nature of Tony Soprano, to live in a hypocritical, repulsive contradiction. He luxuriates in a materialistic, superficial family intimacy, one that, more clearly than ever, beneath it all, hides a man without any real sense of moral justice, a man whose world constantly validates him. And the show leaves you alone with that truth, pessimistic, cynical, unflinching. This is...
Where's that video essay line come from? Leaves you alone with it. That's like a good YouTube video essay. I feel like I can hear Super Eye Patch Wolf saying it in my head. It's also something Tony says in an episode, so maybe that's the reference.
Always was, and always will be, the protagonist you rooted for.
You alright?
Yeah, me, yeah. My family. Someday soon, you're gonna have families of your own.
True, remember he was nice once? It is, I don't know, it is a very interesting choice how it happens. And her, like, groveling makes it almost a little bit funny. And I think it dampens the potential heartbreak. So does, like, going up into the tree.
Absolutely. I got it!
True. Is anybody else truing right now? Anyway. None of those videos were too good, huh? Hopefully on Elite I did send Elite some funny videos, so I hope he's going to watch them. I sent him like an old Nate video. So like 5 minutes left. What are we checking? Where are we going? Where are we going? Isn't that the question? From Sopranos. Oh my god. Moist Critical One Piece compilation from Division 1 hater to biggest fan. That's crazy. Rappers who got sued. That's crazy. Hold on, I want to know about the rappers that got sued. Why would Childish Gambino get sued for this song?
I'm making the mission. I'm made in America. Flex on the radio.
Wait, which way are we going with the suing? True, we love Juice WRLD. Never mind, I skipped it. And I don't believe those structured YouTube shorts anyway. You know, I'm an assertive viewer. I know what's real and what's not. I found out that guy was AI. Oh my goodness, Heath has got something. Screenshot, is this from Heath's own thingy? Is he trying to get me to watch something? Oh, he is? Oh no. Plusle and Minen. These Pokemon are from 20 years ago. Oh my god, he's in the weird Fuecoco stage, the middle one. I don't remember the name. What is even the name of the last one? That's Meowscarada. I definitely don't remember Quaxley. Quackavol is the last one. I definitely don't remember the name of the middle stage. I don't remember this guy either. But they're in some water place. That's crazy. And now there's more Pokemon. See, Sableye over here. Trapinch evolves into Flygon. We like Flygon here. Oh my god, this is like the DLC area, I think. I think they're technically in Unova right now. Terra Tauros. Ash used to have a Tauros. When are we bringing Ash back? Oh my god, it's like a gym thingy. Oh my god, we've got... starts with a D. And Pul starts with a P. Shitty shiny Lucario can suck my dick. I hate Lucario. And again, we got Fuecoco. And we got a fight. Oh my god, they turned on each other. What was it? A 1v1v1v1 battle? This guy looks like the Sun and Moon bad guy. Why did Pokemon start looking like an anime? Frankly, it's disgusting, and I don't appreciate it. Who's liking my fucking tweet? Somebody. Is it new? I thought it was the Blueberry DLC. Yeah, it is that old DLC from the last game. It's not the ZA DLC. Whatever I didn't know wasn't new. It was just me not knowing. Fuecoco. We're going to go on Bulbapedia. No, we'll go on Pokemon Database because it's a better website. And does it have the Crocalor? I've legitimately never heard that name in my life. Crocalor. Skeledurge, of course. We love the great Skeledurge here. What even is Skeledirge's final stat distribution? Ooh, 110 special attack, but then you use Torch Song, and you just start winning. Oh my god, what even is the homepage for this website? Mega Zoroark, this shitty Digimon got a Mega. Oh, and I did see these too. Bunch of Megas. Oh my god, this silly game is coming out soon too. Who knew? Not I. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I did see a bunch of shit went on discount on the PSN store today. That Dragon Age game is like $10, and I saw people making fun of it on Twitter. Because it had a non-binary character, and that's pathetic. You know, we hate woke here. Oh my god, what's Chibi Reviews doing? Let's find that out before we have to end, huh? We'll see what we're gonna send Elite Ari to watch. Which great Chibi... What is the most recent thingy? They admitted to censoring anime in games for money. Now that is sad. We don't like censorship here. I'm trying to click on a channel link here. Can we hurry up and go? It beat the allegations and I'm crashing out. Rent a Girlfriend, chapter 402. I hope this shit ended. This anime needs to be cancelled and thrown in the trash. The Promised Neverland? Or is it just going to be another One Punch Man thing? I do see this guy and Nicholas Light and Tectone all tweeting about how bad One Punch Man is a lot. They're very invested in this anime being bad, and how they really fucked over One Punch Man fans. Couldn't be me, you know? Every anime and manga site went offline. Is this about Cloudflare? That's hilarious if it is. Let's check it out.
This morning, a huge chunk of the internet went offline for quite a few
Sure.
hours. I first realized it when I tried to access social media like Twitter, and I even tried to read a few manga on my favorite
Me
anime manga sites,
too.
and I was unable to access them.
I was reading Claymore.
And so I went to Google and I typed in, is it down or just me? And then I couldn't even access the site. I checked my phone, apparently I had internet, everything was working. They even reset my router, everything was working A-OK. Come to find out, articles started to appear to where there was a global outage, a worldwide outage of Cloudflare systems that pretty much shut down a huge chunk of the internet. I don't know exactly the percentage, but it was a big chunk. Like, for instance, there were just some notable names.
He's a genius, this fella. Now, we actually do have to end stream before the laptop goes flat, because if it goes flat, sometimes it doesn't get to record the VOD. Well, it doesn't upload the VOD to Twitch, I've noticed. And that's where I have to download the VOD to upload it. So we gotta remember to do that. So I'm ending. I suppose we'll all convene for Elite Ari's shitty stream in just a few hours. My goodness. There'll be no One Piece discussion there, that's all I'm saying.